and then I take a like settling torch and I just hit the meat just barely if there's a lot of hair on it, just to
Mhm.
burn that hair off. And then I rinse it down with water just to get rid of everything for sure. Is that good or not?
Hey, I'm KJ, dedicated lifelong hunter here. If you got an interest in all things hunting, you're in the right spot. Whether chasing quail across the plains of Oklahoma or in pursuit of elk in the backcountry of British Columbia, you'll always find me on the hunt.
All right, welcome all you gun talk hunters. Today we're talking all meat processing, what to look for, what not to do. That's probably pretty important. But this episode is brought to you by Ruger Firearms, Range Ready Studios. Check them out. Good training. All right, today we're going to talk with Dustin Strickland of Strick's Meat. Is it, I guess it would be Strick's Specialty Meats out of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. How you doing, man?
Yeah, good, man. That's going on.
Not much, man. I mean, right now we're getting ready to go to SHOT Show. It's happening the week people are probably going to be listening to this, so it's going to be a heavy traffic time for us. But Dustin, give us an idea of Strick's Specialty Meats, because I found this years ago, and it was by happenstance that I just drove up to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and it's an hour and a half drive from where I'm at, but it's worth it. So give us
You
an
bet.
idea of your how long you've been in operation and how'd you get into it?
Yeah, for sure. The meat processing facility we opened up in 2013. I believe it was 2012, 2013 season, and we started processing kind of the same way you stumbled upon us. It really wasn't the plan moving forward. Was strict. We started as a restaurant back in the '80s. We're heading at 45 years this year. From smoking brisket, pulled pork, ribs, you name it. But I grew up in that. My grandfather started that back in the '80s. Grew up in that, and that's all I knew moving forward. Wanted to kind of branch out and along with that into something different, and that's where this place started. We're right next door to our restaurant and catering facility as well. So once we got opened and kind of went more toward the retail side of like your stereotypical butcher shop, and we had some requests for processing. I kind of steered away from it at first because that was like, I don't know if I want to open this can of worms. Honestly, didn't really think that much of it. There's processing around in our area. I've used them in the past before we opened this, and it was just kind of a not a bad product out there, but just nothing that would make you just go out of your way to get something processed. So I never really gave it much thought. Um, but with a little culinary background and seeing the need for that, I'm like, well, actually let's try this and deer processing thing out, and lo and behold, here we are.
I'm
12
glad,
years later. But
man, I'm glad you did, because that you mentioned that you nothing worth driving for or going out of your way for, and that's kind of my thought process on meat processing. If I didn't do it myself, like, would I be willing to drive a great length to go have a deer process? And it's really hard to find those places. And I will say, people in the South know how to process deer,
oh, for
but
sure, yeah, there's a bunch of it.
no one processes them like you guys do as far as the professional. I mean, look at the facilities behind. How many butcher shops and processing plants look like that?
We try to keep everything top notch around here. Just your, I mean, honestly, your facility environment is a huge plays a huge part into what your finished product you know tastes like. Right? I mean, just the environmental concerns of the facility itself. I mean, the air quality, the water. I mean, there's so much that goes into producing a product, and that's kind of what we wanted to start with when we got going was to kind of take the stereotypical deer processing shop kind of out of the equation. And that's been a big hit for us. I mean, everything from pack size to the way we process. In the past, it's been drop it off somewhere. You get it couple variety options you could get made, and then you get bulk packages back that's freezer burns in 30 days, and it's just a waste. So there's got to be a better way, and that's kind of what got us going.
Well, I mean, not necessarily just a better way, just a different way to offer processing, because I think every hunter out there knows, like when they roll up to a deer processing plant or their facility that they take their deer elk to, whatever you're taking, man, I hate to say it, but it's just most of the time it's subpar facilities. That's what I've
Right.
noticed.
Yeah, and it is in a lot of places. And people asked, a while back, why go the extra mile? Deer process, and in general is, and this is coming from other processors around the country. Why put that much extra into it? Because deer processing has always been seen from a meat processing facility standpoint. For instance, somebody that slaughters beef, pork, etc. They do a lot of fair animals in the spring and summer, and wintertime was kind of a lull. So that's where deer processing really picked up. They take you to their facility, bring in, truckloads of deer and just run them in and out as quick as you can, just for some extra wintertime money. And that's kind of where that started in a lot of places. So when they ask kind of why don't we go on the extra mile to give it that specialty kick to it, we weren't trying to reinvent the wheel. I mean, processing's been out there. We're optimizing the wheel to better fit a Ferrari, not a Kia, so that's where we're going. I mean, you can drive a $80,000 truck or a $10,000 truck. They're all going to get you to the same place. It's just a matter of what you want to spend your time in. And that's the direction we went. There's a certain clientele that don't, fit right with our plan. And that's kind of, I hate it, but we can't do it all, so we pick one or the other.
Well, I mean, if you want a diverse selection of meat, you want to get your animal back, it's super clean, and I haven't had anything bad there yet. So if that doesn't fit what you need, I think you're going to the wrong person. I'm sorry. That's just my thought. Like it needs to cross off boxes and what you want to accomplish. And those are four really good ones. Like if you want your family to sit there and really enjoy this stuff and say, man, that's all we ate growing up was deer, and I absolutely loved it, and I want to continue this. Like that's an important player on how things taste and how it's prepared and how it's packaged. I mean, it's just, that's the way it is.
Right. Yeah, it makes a big difference, just the quality of it. And the ease of it. We recently had a interview with the meat processing company or magazine publishing company, and they asked a few different questions, and then I made the point they had stuck in one of their articles about mom friendly, which is so true. I mean, majority of the folks that are picking up are, moms, they get their kids from school, they swing by, pick up the processing order. I know from a dad and a husband, dude, if she gets out of the back of that SUV with a 50-pound box or 50-pound bag of burger chubs that's already condensated, and the bag breaks and it rolls down the driveway and the kids are screaming, they're not coming back. I mean, it doesn't matter how good the product is. There's so much more than the product that's got to be good, to keep that long-standing relationship and customer base going.
That's an interesting way to put it. Like my wife she would have no problem going over there, and like, I mean, the store is immaculate. There's a lot of different options in there. If it's just, it's a step above, but we're going to jump in here with during a break. And I want to, on the backside of this, I want us to talk about some do's and don'ts. Like if you're taking your animal to a processor, what are some things you do? What are some things you don't? And we're going to try to check off how many things I do wrong. So we're going to jump in here with a break, and we'll catch you on the other side. All right, we're talking about one of my absolute favorite hunting suppressors. This one is developed for that backcountry guy. That's the Banish backcountry. So if you want to be stealthy in the field, you got to go lighter. You got to go smaller. We understand that. That's where the banished backcountry really steps up. Designed for the ultimate portability and maximum noise reduction, the banished backcountry suppressor ensures you stay quiet and undetected in the wilds. Silencer Central makes it effortless to own because it delivers right to your doorstep. This is the beauty of what Silencer Central does. They contact you, you contact them, like you get it bought, you get everything taken care of, and one day you get a little email that says, you know what? Your suppressor is on the way, and that's when it shows up on your door, and you can rest easy knowing that you will be quiet in the field. Hunt smarter and quieter with the banished backcountry. Visit silencercentral.com to start your journey. It's time to prepare for the shot of a lifetime. Whether you're a seasoned hunter or new to the sport, preparation is key. I preach it all the time. At Range Ready Studios, we offer the training you need to make that shot of a lifetime. Chris Serino is on staff, and he has a host of instructors on hand to provide personalized trainings in state-of-the-art facilities and practical exercises that build your confidence and skills. From precision marksmanship to quick target acquisition, we've got you covered. Don't leave your success to chance. Visit Range Ready Studio. Unmatched precision with the Ruger American Gen 2. In the heart of the wilderness, precision matters. Ruger introduces the American Gen 2 rifle. Designed for hunters who demand excellence, the Ruger American Gen 2 offers enhanced accuracy, smooth bolt action, and durable design. It's the perfect companion for any hunting expedition, providing reliable performance every time you pull the trigger. Trust the Ruger American Gen 2 to deliver when it counts. Visit Ruger.com to learn more and find your next hunting rifle. All right, we're back with Dustin Strickland of Strick Specialty Meats out of Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and you all are probably wondering, like, well, I mean, it's very regional. Yes, it is, but we're giving you a lot of good tips along the way on what to look for in a processor. If you're taking your meat out and you're taking it to someone, these are some things that you need to look for. So, Dustin, I'm going to let you run with it, and I'll tell you what I do and what I don't do, and I have something that I tried this year that I really liked that people kind of scratch their head at, and I'm going to see if I was wrong for doing it. I may be. But what do you like to see from a hunter bringing in a processed deer or a semi-processed?
Yeah, what we take in cleaned and quartered meat is different than some other processors that do have carcass drop off, the whole animal drop off. So, me personally, just speaking from a either boneless trim or a quartered aspect of it's a little different when you're dropping one off that's just been field dressed. Obviously, that's substantially different than bringing one in a cooler.
Yep.
But what we would want to see is clearly that it's been well taken care of as far as temperature. Getting it on ice quickly. I mean, a lot of folks, if it's 30 degrees outside, it's all right. No, that's not even close. I mean, especially after harvest, you've really got to cool that carcass down quickly.
Yep.
But with it coming in, it's showing signs of proper handling from the hunter, whether it's been iced down, how quickly it was, skinned and prepared. We say dry, and by dry we mean, we haven't seen any issues with it. Some people don't want it to come in direct contact with ice. That's not so much the issue as it is the water, obviously as the ice melts. So keeping the drain plug pulled at all times if you're going to go direct to ice contact, and not forgetting about the bottom of your cooler, especially here in the South. Ambient temperatures are not always ideal, for processing it in any time of year. But the bottom of the cooler, that gets missed with a lot of folks. There's a lot of meat loss from that. So, and what I mean by that is we suggest when you're putting it in a cooler is to go ahead and put some ice in the bottom of your cooler, lay a quarter or two in, layer some more, layer the ice a little bit.
Yeah.
But the kicker is when you go back to re-ice it when that drain plug is pulled, everybody, most folks, I would say their first thought is pop the lid open, dump a few bags of ice on it and shut the lid back. Well, whatever has come in contact with the bottom of the cooler has your truck bed and about an inch of styrofoam between it, and that's it. So yeah. Really important to we use meat hooks, or just reach down there with your hand, but dump some ice in there, but reach down to those bottom quarters, if that's where it is, or back strap, so be it, and just lift them up a little bit, shake the cooler around, get some ice under it.
Yeah.
That meat needs to be encased in ice. Now, we run our holding coolers at 28, 29. If you say if ice is 32, for instance, you've really got to, really pack the ice in there to get it at least 32 or under and hold it that way. But water it's killing everybody. I mean, you get it out of the water. I'm sure your great grandparents or whatever have some myth of how long to soak it, but just don't do it.
Just
get it. It just don't. It's not fish. It shouldn't swim. It's never been designed to swim, and no reason to be underwater. Just stop.
That's funny.
It's one of those things that's a hard habit to break for a lot of folks. Is soak it in water, and they see the meat get lighter for whatever reason. That kind of throws me in. Well, I'm soaking it, getting the blood out. I'm getting rid of the gamey flavor. Well, that's the blood was in the veins. You've got that taken care of whenever you skin it and gut it. I mean, what you're doing is just leaching out all of your myoglobin, what it is that makes up the muscle fibers. Then you're replacing that with ice made from tap water, which has a trace amount of chlorine in it, therefore bleaching your meat. So you're not really bleeding anything out of it. You're changing the color of it due to the whatever water you use, unless you're making ice with purified water at home, which is probably doubtful. I mean, I doubt that's happening. Doubt that's happening. So you ice it down, keep it out of the water. If it needs to sit a week, 5 to 6 days. I mean, we'll say a week, little pushing it is fine in a cooler, as long as you've got plenty of ice under, around it, on top of it, and the drain plug is pulled and the water's getting out.
Yeah,
it's not going to hurt a thing. But that's I would say that's the main issue we run into.
That's one thing that has been a lifesaver for me, especially since I do a lot of my hunting in Oklahoma, and I'm bringing deer all the way from Oklahoma all the way to Hattiesburg. This last trip I did, I took 3 on Tuesday. I drove from southwestern Oklahoma all the way to Hattiesburg and then back down to, where we live around New Orleans. Like, one thing that I've found traveling and doing these hunts and preserving meat as best I can is I will go in the night before and I pre-chill my ice, like the cooler. And so I get a layer of dry ice, I lay it down, and I'd put ice over the top of that so that all freezes together. So it'll all freeze together, so I've got a good base, and I lay a trash bag over that, and then I just start stacking meat and layering in the ice. That, for me, has been really good.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, you're starting, with extra jump on your temperature, by getting that pre-cooled dry ice on the bottom, which is going to help. That's the main problem. You put hot quarters in ice, and then you got water within an hour. So and that's where the battle begins. Once you get the water in there, and then your drain plug starts stopping up, and then it's a constant battle. So if you can get a head start on it and just keep that water from happening in the first place, then you're already ahead of the game.
Yeah, and that's one thing I've found, because you don't think, like, especially like if you're driving long distances, man, the truck bed doesn't cool down like as you drive further distances. It's heating up, and so it's heating up if you have a direct contact. And if you can set your ice chest on something to get a little gap in between the truck bed and the ice chest, that's going to help that warm up less. Like, so you're not going to get a constant heat from the road and from the tires and, just cooking on the concrete. Like, that's going to help keep that ice chest cooler. And I think that's important for people to understand, whether it's like just a rubber mats on the end of your ice chest, something just to create some airflow through there.
Yeah, and I'd say a lot of folks just keep a empty pallet in the back of the truck. I mean, it doesn't technically take up any space. It just lifts everything, about 4 inches. And then that really gives you a good temperature barrier. Like you said, vehicle heat, road heat, it's all battling against you, as you're trying to cool
Yeah.
that meat down.
Yeah. And then, so here's something I did this year, Dustin. I'm not gonna ask how you like to receive because we know you either have it quartered or it's bone off. Okay. So I saw this on an Instagram and I was like a reel or something. And I was like, man, it seems like that would work. Like as far as like taking care of meat right out of the field, because I process everything on the back of a tailgate. And so I get a quarter done and then I take a like settling torch and I just hit the meat just barely if there's a lot of hair on it, just to
Mhm.
burn that hair off. And then I rinse it down with water just to get rid of everything for sure. Is that good or not?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's definitely not gonna hurt anything. Uh, a lot of that helps on a whole carcass standpoint. Once you pull once you pull the hide off, if you have in what we call floaters, once you pull the hide, you're going to have some hair kind of floating around in the environment that's going to stick to the
Right.
hindquarters. So if your meat from a freshly pulled carcass is fairly dry to the touch, and that hair just lightly, lands on it, it's
Yeah.
very easily burned off with a torch. That's
Yeah.
super easy. Where you start losing a benefit from that is after it's either been in a cooler or if it's been handled to where the hair kind of embeds itself in that little layer of sinew and silver skin. Then you're just burning them. You have to just about burn the meat in order to actually get the hair to
Yep.
disappear. That's the only drawback to that. But once it's full, that's not an issue at all.
See?
That's a
There we
win.
go.
Yeah, look, you did something the whole time.
But no, I tried it this year and it really worked. And I mean, it's right after I cut them, like right after they're off that carcass, I hold them up, I torch them just a little bit, get that hair off, and they turn out a little bit cleaner. And I feel a little bit more proud when I bring them in to a guy like Dustin, like that he goes, man, this guy took care of his meat. I appreciate that.
No, for sure. Yeah, and don't be afraid, like you said, to spray it off once you get it skinned. Uh, I know we harp on no water in the cooler, but no water in the cooler versus spraying it off, after skint. That's
Well,
two totally different monsters there. That you're not going to hurt it by cleaning off the exterior. It's the soaking is the problem in the cooler.
right. Well, so what's the worst thing you see? Like what as hunters, what are we the most guilty of when you see something come in? Are we cutting the meat wrong or are we leaving too much out there like on the carcass? Like what are we habitual violators of?
What we see the most part is when somebody debones it themselves. Majority of what we do is a ground product, whether it be sausage, hot dog, snack stick. So the actual the way it's cut is not the issue. It's the any exterior contaminants you have on that carcass, whether it be leaves, filled contaminants, viscera, whatever it is. If it's not properly or effectively cleaned off in a whole carcass form, once you lay that on a cutting board and start cutting it, you're just mixing it in, and that's
Okay.
what we see where a lot of folks lose meat is they might have had, you know, flipped something or a bad shoulder shot. They could have isolated that to the shoulder, when it's hanging, get the shoulder off, clean around the wound, get that separate so everything else before you take it off the carcass versus
Okay.
just dumping. I mean, they just, you got a bad shoulder, you cut it off in the cooler and you just cut everything else off on top of it. Well, you just ruin the rest of that.
Yeah.
So it's really isolating your shot because it happens. I mean, we don't expect people to make perfect shots
Right.
every meet animal that comes in. It's gonna get busted. It's understandable, but it's removing that at the beginning and when the time is right. Don't try to get it all in a cooler and then go through and pick out your bone fragments and that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's already mixed in.
Yeah. Take care of it at the drop.
Yes, big time. And another thing, just a quick thing we see is ice when you do ice it. With I don't know what the thought process behind this is, but get a bag of ice, especially these twice the ice machines you see around town where you can pop up and get it. They have bags of ice, and then a bread tie is used to usually, seal the end of the bag. For some reason, it's a method of opening the bag and dumping everything in the cooler and just laying the plastic on top of the ice, which is fine. I mean, it keeps it from blowing out of the back of your truck. But that bread tie is like sorcery, man. I don't know how it does it, but I guess the vibration from the, sloshing in the vehicle and the vibration of that bread tie, we have found full intact, long or either twisted bread ice bag tie
No kidding.
work its way between muscles, like down in a hindquarter, mostly on meat that's already been deboned, like in a whole hindquarter situation. But we'll cut it and we're like, what the heck is something blue? And then you just likes the whole bread tie. I'm like, how on earth did that get there? And the first few times we thought it was, just kind of weird, and they kept happening. And we are figuring out what's happening. They're just dumping a bag of ice in there, putting their trash on top of their ice. As it melts, the bread tie goes in the pool of meat, and then you've got to dig for it. That's happened. Just our equipment here takes pretty large chunks. So We're not necessarily cutting roast up into little small. No, a home processor is going to be cutting up meat small enough where they would see that. But if you're dropping a whole top and bottom round in together, there could be a bread tie in that thing. That once it hits the grinder, now you've got 100 pieces of bread tie.
Yep.
So that's just something you want to just watch on what goes in your cooler.
Yeah.
And we've seen it all. We found everything you can imagine in coolers.
Oh, that's wild.
It is crazy.
Well, partly why, like, I love to rehash and tell everybody about you guys, but really, when you look at processors and you look at flavors, usually it's, an original summer sausage, or maybe if you're down in the South, maybe it's just a regular andouille. Who comes up with the recipes? Because you guys have, like, let's just say your bacon wrap stuffed back straps, strawberry jalapeno, cranberry jalapeno, fire roasted jalapeno, portobello and roasted garlic, black garlic and Parmesan, sweet Hawaiian and Cajun boudin. Those are y'all's flavors. Who's dreaming this stuff up?
That was me. Unfortunately, now some of that can be regretfully mine, because now instead of having a couple different backstrap options, we have way too many. But we try to build on our menu every year to give our repeat customers something different, and that's why that's grown, constantly.
So I'm sitting there. We're eating some sweet heat summer sausage, and we had cut it up and we had it in like spaghetti, which is phenomenal. My wife says, "Hey, next time you're up there, ask them if they do meatballs." So there's something to think about. Meatballs.
That's been a thought. There's a bunch of things flying around in my head that never stopped on different products we can come up with. So that has actually been a thought on the meatballs. We do new equipment this year that's been able to allow us to do the burger patties a little more efficiently. That's been the big thing this year. And that's been a huge hit on the burger patty. So that was kind of a test run to see how that does, but it's the same type of equipment that we could form out meatballs. It's just finding something that it's being careful with the new products we offer, because we've got to keep the efficiency down. The sky's the limit. I mean, the only things I wanted to do, I'm like, golly, we can really have a crazy menu, but with the amount that comes in and trying to keep it all separate per customer, we have to pick our poison there sometimes.
Yeah, and when he talks about burger patties, these are deer and brisket patties that are like individually packaged. So they come packaged of a package of 2 in each package, and like it's black gold, Philly cheesesteak, jalapeno jack, jalapeno bacon ranch, which is what we got last time. You do not use condiments with these, folks. I'm just going to tell you right now, you don't use condiments because you have enough flavor going on to not have to use those. So, I mean, and then you got your Parmesan garlic, you have unseasoned, and then you've got Bavarian Oktoberfest. That might have to be the next one I get.
It's pretty good. And we do a sausage with a similar seasoning with that. It's really good.
Well, I'm looking at your summer sausage offerings, and it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You have roughly 27 different flavors.
On the menu, yeah, we just ran out of menu room, to be honest with you. So I want to say
Wait, you have off menu stuff? How am I not here? How have I not heard about this?
well, it's mixed. A lot of it's mix and matching of what you see there. That's kind of our basis, and then we mix off of that. So I want to say there's 60 different combinations on our smoked sausage that we offer. Like I said,
Now I
back to
know.
the yeah. Now you know you're behind the scenes. Now you come around the summertime, keeping stuff in the freezer, you get a whole nother deal as far as boudin, jerky, burritos, the whole deal. We just physically you just can't do it during the season, and a lot of that is boudin, for instance, and burritos it's a processed, cooked, and then reprocessed product. So we can't bring that product back into a raw room, one of those raw production. So during the season, it just can't happen. So it's been a huge request, but we do tell folks, save something in your freezer, and it can definitely be done. Because boudin, we do a lot of boudin on the retail side. We do boudin for stuffed scraps, boudin burritos, egg rolls, the whole deal.
Yeah.
But the making deer boudin is a big hit, but it's definitely summertime. After
Yeah.
the main season over.
So, real quick, let's talk a little bit, just real quick on the retail side of things, because you guys have snack sticks that you're now floating out there that are starting to get out and get bigger, a bigger following. Let's talk about the retail space, and we'll kind of put a nice bow on this. But you guys are getting really big on the retail side.
Yeah, we're trying to grow a retail in and push that. It's always been a challenge because it's this time of year. It's hard to really focus in on both when there's the volume of deer coming in. But the summertime we push it a lot harder, in store stuff, and then we have our snack sticks that we push out in the stores. I'm getting those going online, trying to reach out. We've got a few spots, Louisiana, Alabama. Most of it's up around central Mississippi, on whether it be farmers markets, convenience stores, grocery stores. We have our single pack snack sticks. That's just four different flavors of our venison, venison and beef snack stick. It's a single 1 ounce stick, and then our cold pack sticks, what you see here in the shop, that we
Yep.
make with a bunch of variety of species.
Yeah, and that's, it's stricksmeats.com. You can find out more about it. Uh, I would highly recommend, if you're heading out on a hunt or something like that, go in and definitely get some of the snack sticks. They're in sweet heat, pineapple, jalapeno, and original. And then you guys offer a bunch of different seasonings too.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was the seasonings that we do a lot for folks who want to do their own processing. We bring high temp cheese, casings, all your different cures, additives, ingredients. We do all that, and we, fall in wherever we can help. Workshops have been on the agenda. Hopefully that'll crank up this summer. Do some in-store workshops. We come in and kind of do hands-on on making sausage, snack sticks, summer sausage, different things.
I'm telling you, it's an awesome place. If you guys are looking for a good processor in the South, it is worth a drive over to Strick's Meats in Hattiesburg. Dustin, man, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Appreciate you having me on.
No problem. All right, guys, you know the drill. Always keep those muzzles pointed in a safe direction, and always be on the hunt.